Resource Authority for June 26, 2023 to order. This time we have consideration of minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion? Second. Any discussion?
I have discussion.
Okay.
In the meetings, it said that no one had read Larry's letter in reference to his retirement. Basically, it was Commissioner Janung that said that she hadn't received it because it came out that morning while she's at work. And I believe it was Mr. Young that said he hadn't read it, but the rest of us...
No, I read it. I read it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that, when it said that no one had read it, I think everyone had read it except...
Yeah, I was at
I think there were several comments of people who said they hadn't seen it,
Yeah, I
didn't know
haven't
anything
seen
about
it,
it.
actually.
That's what I understood.
Yeah, several said they had not, but I had.
Yeah, so it just says that no one had read it.
that day I was.
We can
at
change
work.
that.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Okay.
We can change that. Okay.
Mr. Young and I said we read it.
I'd read it.
I read it. Any discussion?
No.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks. Report by chairman, I have no report, so we'll move on to a report by general manager. General manager? Mr. Mayor.
I know we've got a lot of things on the agenda, so we can move through these tonnage reports right quick. First thing's in the folder there. You can see what we had tonnage-wise for the month of May. Just a little less than 20,000 tons for the month, which was right at 5,000 tons more than the same month last year. This month's been almost as busy, not quite. Last week wasn't too bad, maybe because of the rain and what have you, but we're getting in on the average of 650 to 850 tons per day, most days. Saturdays are continuing to be pretty busy as well. Most Saturdays anymore have been over 300 tons for a Saturday, so tonnage sounds big. The customer number on some of those days, even though we're still getting, 650 to 700 tons, traffic moves in and out fairly well. I know Mayor Clary was up there on Friday bringing some stuff, and we got 700 tons in on Saturday, but the overall traffic flow for the day wasn't too bad. People were getting in and out pretty quick. It's hard to say from one day to the next how that goes, but that's what we had for the month of May, tonnage wise. So you can see there, run that down on the 7-day-a-week average tons per day, and that's total tons. That counts wood and tires both, but as you'll see on the product sales summary reports there, the breakdown on what went to the floor, the transfer station, tire tonnage we had for the month, and also wood brush tonnage as well. So it's still 19,000 tons went to the floor of the transfer station, as you can tell there. We ran, you look at the number of tickets there, it's another about 1,000 more tickets, or loads, I guess you'd say, this year in May as opposed to last year. The next reports there are the major customer reports. Breakdown on some of the bigger haulers. The big number column is still over that miscellaneous where, everybody that's not one of the ones that are designated before that or go into that column. So there's a lot of independent haulers that show up in that miscellaneous column. As I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, the GFL, or Green for Life, column there, they were bought out by Waste Management, and they've since renamed that operation down there Waste Management Nashville West. So that's the reason you see a name change on that. They still want to keep their tonnage and invoices going two different ways. I guess it helps them on the accounting side of their operation. The next things in there is the breakdowns on the individual counties that we're getting waste in somehow. Biggest one there being Davidson County for the month of May. Wilson County, is the next one. But, Sumner County, well over 16,000 tons per month. The next things in there is I ran a report right before I came over here about 4 o'clock. And, we were at 715 tons today to the floor of the transfer station. 726 total. And this month, today, through the time I ran this report at 4 o'clock, we're at around 15,400 tons for the month total for June. And we got 4 more days to go in that. So you figure, 600 to 700 tons a day, that's another, 2,500 tons probably at least before the end of the month. So we're gonna run probably a little less than 18,000 tons total for the month. The next things in there is the spreadsheets on the recycling for the drop-off center. Since we got the new roll-off truck, we've been able to pick back up hauling, the material to the processors in Nashville, mainly cardboard loads. We had quite a stockpile of cardboard there that we've been able to haul. Commodity prices, cardboard prices still are not very good. Any of the prices other than scrap metal are still not, running very well right now. I think these loads we got paid for in May on cardboard, we were getting $15 a ton for, but some of the places we take it to charge us a fuel surcharge and a environmental fee. So by the time they do that, it usually wipes out what you make on a load plus the hauling of our truck and driver to go down there and back. So see what we're running for the fiscal year there. In the negative column so far for the year, revenue-wise anyway. Next sheet is the miscellaneous recycling sheet. See the biggest number there is the scrap metal, so we're continuing to get quite a bit of scrap metal in that we're able to separate out and send to the recycling, scrap metal recycling places. It generates a pretty good amount of revenue. You can see what we run for the year over there so far. Next sheet's the brush grinding sheet for Alternative Energy, contractor that does our brush grinding. I think we're pretty much caught up at all the sites right now. The transfer station site, Gallatin's got the site on Steam Plant Road where we grind at, and also the Hendersonville brush site as well. Next report's the on-site manifested tires. Had a big month month on tires coming into the facility again. But we've been able to keep up, getting them hauled out, so we don't have much of a stockpile right there currently. Maybe a load or load and a half on the ground right now. We're supposed to get a load tomorrow on Wednesday. So,
That's more than that.
a lot of people buying tires.
Where's Woodard's VP and Tires? Is that in Westmoreland?
It's in Portland.
Portland.
It's more than half the total right there.
One person. Yep, one organization.
Let's see, the next thing in there is the financial statement for May. Those were in the email that went out. Anybody's got any questions about those? Still running good year-to-date, revenue. Of course, when you have over $1 million a month in revenue for 1 month on tip fees, it helps. But at the same time, all that has to be hauled out, so it's an expense as well. I think that's all I've got on those reports right now, unless anybody's got any more questions or any questions.
Anybody get questions for Larry? If not, moving on, legal report, Mr. Moore.
The only thing I have is some ways from the code department regarding the quick claim deed. Talked with Susan Colley. She assures me they are working on those issues.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding from earlier, a few months back, was that the current volunteer fire department building, it's county building, but that land is on resource authority. I think that's what we talked about. When you quit claim, are you just quit claiming the new piece for the new building?
That's a separate
He's-
issue.
he's
I'm
talking about
talking
something
the
different.
Rapid Highway
Oh, I saw.
issues.
That land would instill there for
Because
The little
for the
term.
discharge, or the
Okay.
exit.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
So
I thought you were going with the other piece of land for the
No.
quit date.
I haven't seen quick claim deed yet on that.
I just saw Mr. Drown, that's why I thought it was on the topic.
It is on the agenda, and they've been working on a quick claim deed for us to consider. The mayor was in here a little bit earlier and said he didn't have it quite ready yet, so.
My
But we can
question
still
is,
talk about it.
I was just wondering, are you gonna do all of the property or just the new piece?
It's my understanding that the ask was for the whole property.
The whole property?
That was my understanding,
I have no concerns, I was just wondering.
yeah. That was what I understood. And I sent a legal description that was attached to the current lease that we established back in the late 90s on that property.
Yes, I saw.
This afternoon, plus the plot of that land. I was understanding we were talking about
The whole thing.
the whole thing.
Good,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. Moore? That's it. All right, moving on to old business. First item on that is discuss the progress of the final design and permitting for the new transfer station project.
Very good. Well, all of our state and federal permits are in. The last remaining permit from TDEC, which was the modification of the transfer station permit, was came to us, I guess, directly after the meeting or thereabout, last month's meeting. As Butch mentioned, we've got the outstanding issue with the quick claim deed and instill still pending, but on those two items break free, I think we'll be in good shape. We're just using this time now to final review the plans and specs. And Butch, I got a contract I gotta get to you for review.
All right, any questions on that?
Do we know why there's a holdup between Instill and the Resource Authority, what the holdup is with this?
We
You know,
have-
kind of like maybe what the issue is?
Yeah, I'll give you at least my my thought process on it, which is, there were two parts to that agreement.
Right.
One was a quitclaim deed that granted a small piece of property under 1/10 of an acre to the Resource Authority.
Right.
The other piece of it was in those discussions, we worked between them and the city of Gallatin to get them some information that allowed some right-of-way changes to happen.
Okay.
There was some relic right-of-way, there needed to be a turnaround for fire safety at the end of Rappahannock Wire Drive.
Mhm.
And that's a different level of approval than the quitclaim deed. It takes some time, so they're having to move that through Gallatin's planning, engineering, and city
Takes a
council.
while. Okay.
Did I nail that, Butch? Is that
Pretty good.
okay?
Anything else on that? If not, moving on to update on any open landfill projects. Anything on that?
We finally closed out the warranty work on Caps Gap, so that final pay application's been approved. It captured a fence repair change order that happened from some tree fall. But I believe that one's moved along.
That is processed. We sent them a check for that fence repair work the end of the week, and I've worked with our bank and got that retainage release worked out today, so they're sending them a cashier's check for the retainage. So that contract is done, I think.
It's done. The Odom's Bend landfill also had some maintenance repairs that needed, just some ponding issues that as a requirement of the custodial care of those landfills need to be corrected. So some minor grading work happened this past week, and that wrapped up Friday evening. And then in terms of the water testing that we do at Odom's Bend and Caps Gap, we're current in that regard. So.
I think you're gonna be testing at Oden's Bend this week, actually.
Yeah, the next round.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Anything else on that? Any questions?
There was a question that came up about the Resource Authority property in Oak Grove, about whether or not it was a viable option to open it back up if we ran out of space. Do you have any idea about that, or if that was ever, would that ever be an option, considering they're looking at the land for the county to build a fire department?
Should we do that new business first?
Oh, okay, sorry.
I can speak to that initially, I think. To me, we were having trouble up there when we got to the point where we decided to close that with suitable cover dirt for that landfill.
Okay.
And then when we decided to close it and it went into the closure phase, we had a lot of trouble finding suitable dirt for the proper compaction on the cover for the landfill. That dirt up there's, Ryan is an engineer, he's got the technical name for it. I call it chert. It's got a lot of rock in it. It doesn't stick together like good clay dirt does.
Yeah. So it
but,
really wouldn't be appropriate to use it for a landfill again?
It would take a lot of work to do that, in my opinion.
Oh, that'll work.
Wouldn't have to be recited as well, since it's been closed?
Yeah.
It'd have to be,
You
there'd
gotta
have to be
get TDEC approval,
There'd
and
have to be a
then
new-
you're gonna have a horde of people from that part of the county come down with all manner of
Yeah,
things.
good luck.
Is it even legally, because it has to be so far away from a residential?
Well,
property,
that's part of it.
Yeah.
It's a two-step process. It's got to go through TDEC and the solid waste people, but then you've got the community.
Yeah.
I just was asking because it was brought up and, we're running out of
I remember when that,
space.
I mean, of course, I've been working for the Resource Authority a long time, and I remember when we were siting that site up there, I wasn't directly involved with that part of the operation at the time. But it was quite the ordeal to try to get that through the public, I lost my word.
Public comment.
Yeah, public comment phase.
Yeah.
But the Resource Authority doesn't have a monopoly on landfills in Sumner County. Somebody else could come and, and go that route and try to get it permitted.
And they might get a permit,
Yeah.
like I said, it's a two-step process, but then whoever, I wouldn't wanna go that route.
And when we decided to close it, the people that lived in that area that'd been involved with it for all those years that it was open were quite happy to see it
I'm sure.
closed at the time. Now, can't speak for now, but, so,
Okay, just wanted to bring that up.
Okay, next item, job description and replacement for retiring general manager.
Very good.
I sent out the job description that I worked up. We had one, but I kind of went through it and updated it some, sent that out with emails that went out on Friday. As all of you are aware, I had requested at the last meeting to consider my retirement. I've worked for the Resource Authority for over 41 years now, and I'm kind of ready to
Yeah. Keep going.
take a deep breath. Maybe, hopefully.
Keep breathing.
Yeah, keep breathing, that's a big thing, that's it.
Y'all, since we don't have an HR department, my HR director in Hendersonville has.
We have one until December.
Well, the Resource Authority doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my HR director he'll help as we go through start the process.
Used to have committees on the Resource Authority, right? That did like personnel, finance, or like two
Yeah.
committees.
It used to be a process when we elected officers, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, would that be something that we could put together so that, you know, have a committee and, like you said, you have people apply and look at the application?
Well, that's up to the board. I just made the request and
Yeah.
like
You'd like to get out the
like to
door?
see it happen sooner rather than
I hear
later,
you.
maybe.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So,
So how, if, so let me ask this question. So if we're going to get people to apply, who will be responsible to collect those resumes and bios? And then how will we be able to see them? And, I mean, if it's HR department in Hendersonville, well, yeah, I'm just asking for the process because it seems we don't have one.
Are we actually advertising for it right now? or-
no, I mean, we don't have it, not a direction to go in, so I didn't know.
Yeah.
If you want my HR director to advertise it, I mean, it's gonna come at the cost of the Resource Authority, but we do need somebody, I mean, it's not worth hiring somebody full-time, that's for sure, just for this, but if we wanna advertise it, he could advertise it, collect resumes, and distribute them to all of us.
We need a process. I think that's a good idea, because we do need a process to do this.
It does need to be a process of some kind of organized process. I would
Larry
think.
can move on.
Because we've never had to do this before.
Yeah.
Since the resource.
Well, it's been a while, yeah, I've been in the general manager position since 2003,
Yeah.
so it's
Before
been.
that, you were assistant general manager, weren't you? Or something
Operations
similar.
manager.
Operations manager,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Well, I would like to make a motion that we, I guess, employ your HR person. We need to know how much it costs, though.
How much, I mean, his labor will be free.
Okay.
But just the advertising expenses we have,
Yeah.
we'll have to come back.
Yeah.
I make a
Come back to
motion that we
resource
do that, just so we can get the ball rolling.
It's okay to do that, isn't it, Butch?
I might need to take a look at that, because the hiring is through the board. You know, you can contract an HR person.
But wouldn't that be just like contracting them to do that?
Potentially, you know, but it depends on what's in the contract.
Yeah.
I'm fine if Gallatin wants to use their HR staff, anybody, I'm just saying that somebody's gotta do it.
I don't know of anything that would prevent that, but, you know, I need to see what's being proposed.
Well, can we go ahead and set it up, and
Sure.
you let us know, and if it's not, then we'll have to come back and
With
draw
the
back.
private
the
act and the bylaws, I don't know that, bylaws actually speak to that. There's an employment handbook as part of our paperwork. And it was right offhand, I don't know if there's anything that prevent from contracting out HR services, like a search firm for that.
Okay, is that a motion?
I'd like to add to that motion. Because Larry would like to retire sooner rather than later, I'd like to add a dollar amount to how much we're going to advertise and go ahead and, I don't know what advertising costs, but maybe up to $2,000 for advertising fees, or so that if it does go, we don't have to come back next month to appropriate that.
Do we have to appropriate that though? I mean,
Well, I mean, any purchases, you got a bidding process that's involved, the exceptions of which are, if it's $2,000, if it's, whatever the limit on that, I'm gonna have to.
Wouldn't this be
check.
professional services?
That's what I'm looking for right now.
I'm just trying to expedite Larry's
And
retirement.
I understand that, but I don't wanna get caught in a bidding
we
problem.
have professional
It is professional services,
Yeah.
like engineering.
yeah.
Can we,
I don't,
I mean,
it's kind of hitting me cold, so.
Yeah.
I just need to check our documents to make sure.
I was just thinking we could move forward, and have something next couple of months or something,
Do you know how much it would cost for the Indeed and all that stuff?
I mean, you
say by
could,
Labor Day.
Yeah.
Advertise on Indeed and all the other websites that, for job, people that are doing job searches, but like he said, you might want an HR person that's comfortable knows the spots to advertise on.
Well, she or he will know
Yeah.
what to do.
Larry, is there a professional journal for solid waste?
There's Solid Waste Association of North America, which I'm a member of. They have a forum on there, so to speak, that you can post jobs and things. Now, they do charge for it, but I'm not sure what the fees are
Say, if
necessarily.
they had like a magazine,
That's good to know.
that's usually a 6 to 8 to 10 week lead time to get something like that in, so
and there's-
that probably would be efficient.
I mean, there's SWANA members all over the United States, so it's,
Do they have an online based, so it would be online, so they wouldn't have to get it?
they
like you
send
said.
out newsletters
Right.
pretty frequently, and, usually they have, links or
Yeah.
mention jobs available or whatever.
Right, that might be
Okay,
helpful.
that's something that the HR person at Hendersonville can
Yeah.
pursue.
I think $2,000 is reasonable. If it goes above that, we'll get back together in a month and
Yeah.
we'll figure it
I,
out.
I can check on what the fees are for that.
I agree with Terry, that's a
It's
great.
probably not near that, I don't think, but,
I just threw something out to get started.
yeah.
So we got a motion and with the $2,000, correct?
That's correct.
You want to add that in there?
Yeah, I'll add it.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
So I'll have our HR person get with you, Butch, just to make sure
Right.
everything's good, and then get with Larry to find out where else to advertise.
And just for discussion, I've spoken to some people at TDEC. They say there's quite an appetite out there. They believe that we will not have any trouble at all. In the meantime, I'm sorry.
Someone wants to leave California or New York or someplace.
If anyone does find out, watches this video or whatever, and wants to apply, is there any
They would,
process in place now?
wouldn't it be like,
Send it to Larry?
send it to Larry?
Yeah, I can do that.
And he can forward it to the Hendersonville person.
Yeah, I can be the, yeah.
Send it to Craig,
Anyway, either way, you know.
Craig and you,
Okay.
and then you guys maybe keep us informed, and the attorney. So he's in the loop.
Yeah, I can do that.
Well, Larry sounds like we're on the ball.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to new business.
Did we vote on that? Yeah, we did, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, yes, we did.
Discuss the county request for a quitclaim deed for the property at Oak Grove for the proposed fire station.
Okay, we've talked about that in the past. It kind of got put on the back burner, so to speak, I think. Mr. Brown called me, that's been several weeks ago now, saying that they were talking about it again, and I guess whoever it was had requested that we possibly consider giving them a quitclaim deed for the property up there. As we've reported before, there's a current lease in place now. When that first fire station was built up there. So Mary Isabel called me and told me they'd work up a quitclaim deed for us to consider. Told him that I couldn't make that decision, it had to be a board decision, but I was hoping to be able to get that before our meeting today, but we haven't gotten anything yet, but he's still working on it. And so, you know, I don't know if we need to approve that in lieu of Butch looking at it.
I have a question that really directed toward Ryan. We still have post-closure requirements from TDEC regarding that landfill?
You have post-closure requirements at Ash Grove and Capscat.
Oak Grove is in custodial care, it's out of post-closure.
Okay.
Correct.
But the post-closure, or excuse me, the custodial care requirements,
You still have to maintain a buffer zone around the landfill.
all right, who's gonna do that if we quit claiming to the county?
Well, it's outside the buffer zone now, I think. I believe it is, or we probably wouldn't have done that lease necessarily. It's fenced
Okay.
currently. I mean, it hadn't been surveyed, so I don't know exactly where the property lays up there.
So the legal description we have does not take into account the buffer zone?
I think it does. I think
Okay.
it's outside the buffer zone, I believe, is what we determined.
Yeah, we did a quick look at it based on where the estimated location of the fire hall was going. It was outside the drainage needs of the landfill, outside the buffer zone. But like Larry said, until it's finalized and surveyed, those rest
I
is
mean,
fine.
and the reason I say that is that I went back and pulled that lease agreement this afternoon again, and there's a exhibit in there that calls out that buffer zone requirement even in the lease. So I feel like it's probably outside that buffer zone. But like I say, it hasn't been surveyed exactly. I don't know exactly where the pins or the property lines are. That'll have to be done in order to do this
Yeah.
Yeah,
quitclaim deed,
yeah, we
I
had
mean, in
talked
order to
about that in the
process
commission.
that out, so.
That would be something they'd have to do.
Can I ask you about timing? Because I know Mr. Drown is anxious to get his building up before winter hits again. So we get the quick claim done, we could have it to him in a month or two? What are we looking at on time?
Well, I guess if the board agrees to quitclaim it, I guess it would be up to the county to do the survey on it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, that's what we agreed to,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure,
I would,
because that was part of the cost that they
that's,
said
I
they would
think
have to
that's kind of what I
allocate.
understood.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if the board agreed to quitclaim it, and whenever we got that and Butch said it was okay, then we could do it, I guess.
Can we vote on that before Butch reviews it?
Well, you can, but I still would have a potential concern about the fact that it is a closed C&D landfill. And if something goes awry, where's TDEC gonna look? And just because we quitclaim our interest in a piece of dirt to another entity, albeit the county, somebody, I think there has to be some sort of, at least an indemnity agreement between the Resource Authority and the county for any issues that pop up post deed. It's like you can quit claim a piece of property, but there's the deed of trust on it. That doesn't affect the deed of trust. And if we've got obligations, any kind of continuing obligations to TDEC, I'm uncomfortable with an out-and-out quitclaim deed.
Is there a reason besides the county saying that they wanted a quitclaim? Could we lease it? Continue with the, I mean, we have the existing piece leased or,
Well, yes, that's
So,
because we still
would that
maintain
resolve?
some, right. Now, ultimately, TDEC looks to this entity for landfill management that we have, and we've closed this landfill. But there are still certain obligations, even in custodial care, that may give where an issue might arise.
Larry, I think
And
Mr.
it'll-
Brown wanted to say
and
something.
it'll be in
That's possible.
custodial care for,
Right, ever.
Forever.
yeah.
Mr. Brown had his hand up a minute ago if he wanted to. Might want to add something.
You wanted to say something
Yeah,
about
I'm Wayne
that?
Brown. Where the new building is proposed is under the current lease, in the land that is currently leased to the county.
Yeah.
It's, and the budget committee, when they finally approved the money for the building, it was with the provision that instead of the lease, they'll get the Resource Authority to quitclaim all the property, which is the current, the communications tower and the current building that EMS and the fire department uses. Now, not sure why that's, but that was their request, because I specifically asked them that night, did they mean quitclaim deed for the property needed for the new building? And they said no, they wanted the current property that's under lease. That there is a plat in the lease agreement that shows that.
I'm not sure the budget committee knows what kind of responsibility they might be taking on.
Well, I'm not sure about the depth and breadth of that either, but,
Resource,
given,
site.
just for an example, of course, it may be compared to apples and oranges, we still have continuing issue with the Oldham's Bend ash monofill, vis-a-vis TVA, vis-a-vis federal lawsuit, and it may not be an accurate comparison or a total comparison that's analogous, but when you're dealing with waste disposal and the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, there are obligations that custodial care means forever. And a quitclaim deed does things, but it doesn't, I don't know if you can delegate that responsibility, because that responsibility still is ultimately this entity.
Is that something that can be checked with TDEC?
Well, I mean, they're gonna tell you, well, you can do what you want, but you're still gonna be responsible. And,
So the
I
Resource
think
Authority,
the solution to that would be an indemnity agreement. But you can't do an indemnity agreement with governmental entities, because that can change from the makeup of the legislative body from time to time. It's not, we've had those issues before. You can't, a governmental entity cannot indemnify another governmental entity or anything else.
Rich, to move this forward, is the solution a lease?
And we did check
Continue the lease.
TDEC initially when we were
Okay.
approached by that.
Yeah.
Thinking about just the the new little piece down there to put the.
Right,
yeah.
but we're talking about something different.
Yeah,
When you said the whole piece of property, that's.
yeah.
I thought it was only that section that he's talking about, putting the fire department on there, because I never knew that it was supposed to be the whole thing.
That's what I understood from Wayne. Yes, ma'am.
Not the whole landscape.
Not the whole
I know,
landfill, but
No, no,
there's a-
no.
Just that
Yeah.
one
All
spot.
right, well, that's where I was confused.
There's a 5-acre piece of property that in 1997 was leased to the county for use, and maybe this needs to be, anyway, for emergency medical services, fire services, or law enforcement. And when I first proposed that we put it over there, we didn't know that lease was in place. We didn't really know how the current buildings were, and then we found that there is 5 acres, which includes the current buildings and the property that the new building would go on. And one of the budget committee members saw the lease, and he was the one that made the motion that for the building to be there, that the whole 5 acres that's under that lease be quitclaim deed to the county.
And it's not part of the, no, it's not on the landfill at
Not
all.
on the landfill.
Okay.
None of that's involved. That's
In,
what I thought.
as Mr. Wright said, in the lease agreement, it talks about the buffer zone and
Right.
other things that's outside of
Yeah,
that.
that had to be addressed before we could do that lease,
Yeah.
according to the lease agreement, is, I've looked at it. Like I say, I wasn't involved in that at the time either, but I've got it in the file there, and I've pulled it out and read through it, but that buffer zone requirement was in there.
So what's the fastest way to help out the volunteer fire department?
Well, as long as we're not turning over a portion of the landfill which we're responsible for, I don't have a problem.
So it's entirely outside of the buffer. Is that correct, Larry?
That's my understanding, and when we looked
I
at
think that
it,
we're probably gonna need a new survey.
Survey, yeah.
it'll have to be
Yeah.
surveyed, yeah, I agree.
Didn't you say that's what the budget
We
committee
do that.
said
Yeah,
that they would
that's what
do?
they said.
Yeah, we do that.
That was an expense.
We knew that.
they
The
were
county
getting.
will do that.
Right.
There's money in the money that's being appropriated for the building. The county engineer came up with the estimate, and it includes money for survey, any testing that's required, and all for the property.
That's right.
Good enough.
So do we make a motion to go ahead and do it, and then if there's an issue, we come back?
I think we
So
just
we
make
can
the
move this
motion.
forward?
I mean,
make a
you're
motion.
asking me to approve a piece of, a document that I haven't reviewed,
Yeah, you gotta, I think we need to get the document.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen the survey.
well, they haven't done the survey yet, because you haven't given them appropriations to do, you haven't given them the okay on the land. It's kinda like you're arguing two things. You've got the county saying, well, we don't wanna survey it until we're allowed to use it, and over here, you're saying, well, I need to see the survey. Well, we need to come to Jesus
Well,
You
here.
gotta do a
The
survey before you use it anyway.
Excuse me, but the survey,
It didn't make sense.
the
but-
survey is what goes in the legal description.
Correct. You
Which
gotta
goes
have
in
that.
the deed, which goes in the piece of paper that I need to review.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're open to providing the lease of the land, so let's get the survey, and I think then
mhm,
then we take a vote, hopefully in a month from now, and we get it over to them.
yes.
It's fine.
Yes, the county, yeah, let's do it.
So I'll make a motion that we intend to quick deed the property as long as all the legal stuff works out and we get an update from Butch next month and he gives us the go-ahead.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion?
Is that a legal thing to do, for us to do, for this board to do, is to tentatively approve the quitclaim?
Again,
We just-
you're asking me to give an opinion about a piece of paper which I have not seen.
We can obviously change our mind in a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Y'all
Exactly.
do what you want to do.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. discuss the, let's see, 2024 proposed budget.
Those were in the emails that went out as well, in the packets. Had a chance to look over them.
There doesn't appear to be anything substantially different.
No, there's not.
There's only one item that we need to talk about, that I know of.
Is it salaries? It's up a little
Well,
bit.
what we did, Hendersonville's given us 6%, county's given a 3%, and I believe Gallatin is somewhere between, so if the average amount, 223, it comes out to like I think a 3.8, so I think we put in a 4% increase for our folks here at the Resource Authority.
So that's already figured in here with the salaries?
It's figured in, yes, sir.
Yeah. And the other figure, if you'll notice down at the very bottom, there's a line called, what is it, PTO? For $90,377. That's the amount of money that we owe Larry for unused vacation that he hadn't taken over the years. I asked him, and he's gonna talk with his accountant about it. You could defer some of this payout, which would not only, it would help him as far as his taxes are concerned, but would also maybe help us as far as the amount of money. We could take it over, we could defer half of it, we could defer 2/3 of it. That's, I'll leave that kind of up to him. But we do owe him the money, and he's got a calculation if anybody would like to look at it. That's how it came about. But that's what that figure is.
As Baker said, too, there's not anything real significant in there otherwise.
No, I didn't see it.
Anybody else have anything? Do we need a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carried. All right, next item, discuss the proposed concrete repair on the tipping floor of the existing transfer station.
I think we've talked about in here in previous meetings, the current transfer station, the floor has been in place back there for at least 15 years now. We've made a repair in part of it a couple years ago. Well, actually, it's been 4 or 5 years ago now. But there's a section kind of in the middle of the floor that continues to wear, and it's wearing faster and faster all the time. I've been monitoring it for several months, or a year or longer, thinking we were going to get by, we'll be able to get by until we got the new transfer station built. Well, I don't know that we're going to make it that far. So it looks like we may have to do an emergency repair at some point in time in the very near future to repair that, at least that section, as best we can, as fast as we can and inexpensively as we can, in order to be able to get by until we get the new transfer station up and running. And then our plan was at that time anyway, we've got some renovation work on that building that we're planning on doing in the process of the transfer station project, with some metal on the outside of the building, and totally replace that floor in there for the use that we've got proposed for it going forward. You know, if we were able to totally replace that floor, it'd last for no telling how long, since it's lasted 15 years now with the current use it's getting, with all the tonnage we got coming in, all the high traffic going across it currently. So that's kind of what that is. I think we've talked to a contractor that we've done a lot of work with over time and actually did the repair on the floor the last time we did it. You've got that. I hadn't seen that till just now, but if you want to, it's
Sure.
your phone, so.
I'll walk them through in discussions, and trying to put together an estimate in case the repairs, become more urgent than they even are now. We asked the contractor to help us price 3 scenarios. I haven't had a great opportunity to review them, but the numbers look reasonable from what I've seen. First scenario is it's just a patch on the existing area that is saw cut, dowel back in, reinforcement, new concrete. That option A is $80,000. If we would decide to replace the whole floor, we're looking at $400,000 to do it right. And if we are just looking for the get us by cheapest option we can possibly explore is option C, it's still going to be about $60,000. That option does not dial in. It saves some labor costs and getting the floor ready and prep. So we also gain time there. The problem with any option that we have is that we have to shut down the station, put back users and traffic on it within 4 days, typically about all we can get out of it. Full floor replacement is going to be, you need at least a week. So the patch repair is probably the option to move forward with. But I think either option is going to be one that gets us, to the point where we can come back and replace the whole floor.
How long would you be down with just the patch option?
4 days.
4?
We could probably do that in over a long weekend. Maybe shut down 1 or 2 days. The last time we made the repair back there, we did it over Memorial Day weekend, and we shut down on Friday and Saturday. So we had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we were able to get back on it on Tuesday.
Were there any,
That's the critical factor involved in even looking at it, because, the amount of traffic we got coming in, users coming into the facility, even if you just look at all the county people, we just don't have the time constraints or such that, trying to shut down for a week or a little longer, do the whole thing is, that'd be nightmarish.
with the building of the new transfer station, is there any major repairs, anything major that will need to be done to that floor?
We've proposed as an alternate to the bid to have them completely replace the floor.
So what we need now is just a patch job. Is that the 60 or the 80?
60, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
the quick patch.
Yeah, both are patch jobs. You might lean towards the more expensive patch, and here's why. If you dial in the concrete to existing concrete and get the patch to the right size, if bids don't come in where we want, there's a $400,000 item that you can survive with this patch over long term rather than trying to award that ad alternate during the larger construction project until it becomes something that's is a luxury item, not a necessity. If you go with a lesser cost patch, you're gonna spend $60,000 and you're certainly gonna spend $400,000 later.
Yeah. So was the $80,000 approximate, was that A?
That's a.
You are calling that A?
And I'd take a step further and recommend you expand that out a little bit, because we may need to saw cut a little bit more. It's an active floor. There's a lot of waste on it. You can't see everything.
Right.
So we may have a little more extents on that patch than we're estimating right now. The base material may be poor, maybe some gravel to come in.
I move that option A be approved
There might be some extra margins we'd have.
with additional work that needs to be done.
More expensive.
Correct. I didn't give that's not an actual estimate, that's just a
Yeah.
guesstimate.
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion second, any discussion?
Have we looked at a holiday or any time that we can do this? Because this is one of those things that, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. We got to get way out in front of this as far as telling people don't be coming.
Labor Day is almost too soon.
Yeah, I don't think we can do it before.
I'd originally, when Ryan and I first talked about it, he mentioned July the 4th, and I thought that's too quick a trigger.
Yeah, that's too quick.
There's no way you can do it that quick. But I mentioned Labor Day, and I don't know whether that's possible or not, but
So y'all can give us a date at the next meeting?
yeah.
And put it in the paper and things like that. Let them, people
Yeah,
know.
whenever we decide on a date.
Yeah.
We did that last time, had it well in advance to advertise where everybody knew it, so that worked out pretty well. But
It did.
so
Good idea.
the next time after that's
Thanksgiving.
This might be 5
And then you
days.
got winter and,
Because you do the work on Saturday and Sunday, and it cures, Friday and Saturday, and it cures on Saturday, or Sunday and Monday, I guess, so. That's the plan.
that's how we did it with the Memorial Day fix that time.
They're usually pouring an early Saturday, and that gives you as much time as you can get on high early strength concrete. It's not ideal, but
It'll be covered in garbage, instead of trucks and such, so.
Okay, anything else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed, motion carries. All right, next item, discuss the possible investment of current surplus funds.
Okay.
You go ahead.
We bank with Pinnacle, our company checking account. One of the people that we set up our accounts for us several years ago, we set it up, called me here, been a month or so ago, and asked me if, since we run a pretty good balance on our checking account, if we had ever considered moving some of that over into a money market account or something like that, that we could get a higher interest rate on. So, I told her I couldn't make that decision myself, but I'd bring it up to the board. So, I've talked to several people about it, Butch, Mr. Young. I think we talked about it that day a little bit when y'all were over at the office.
Right.
But the possibility of taking, an amount of money out of our checking account, moving over into a higher interest account, she suggested if we did it with Pinnacle, they've got a money market account that pays those 4.5% or 4 point something, I can't remember. But it's, you can move money out of it back into if you need it. It's not like
a checking.
You're locked in, you've got a certain amount of transactions you can make a month, that kind of thing. So just throwing that out there to
it's a good idea, Larry.
see about,
We're probably getting what now, 0.1%?
Something like that. Yeah, and we're talking, we can move $5 million.
Yeah.
So that's not chump change when you start talking about 4.5%.
Right. I think that's a great idea.
So
So how, is the answer 5 million? Is that the amount?
we could do that safely.
Probably.
Yeah.
If you get north of 4%, that's approaching what you'd get at a 1-year CD something.
Yeah.
So,
And you can move it any way you want to go.
That's great, that's great, right?
Now,
Good idea.
I don't know whether we need to search and see who else has got it out there. That'd be
Maybe.
the key, and then, we're gonna have the same people signing on that account. There's several things we need to think about. Have the same people signing on that account that sign on the checking account.
But you can always, if you don't like that money market, maybe it's going south, you can always move it, like you said.
Take it out.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you can.
Yeah, exactly.
it's my understanding.
Which we don't have to go for bids for that, do we?
Again, it's professional services.
Well, it's not professional services, but it's, we're not really purchasing anything.
Okay.
Okay.
We're just moving it from one account to another in a
Yeah.
bank.
Anybody want to make a motion on that?
I make a motion that we do it.
Second.
Makes sense.
$5 million?
Okay. Have a motion, a second, any other discussion?
I just have one piece. If we could see the terms before we actually just give an overall vote. You say that we're going to put it in short term, that we can withdraw it or not.
It's money market.
It's money
Yeah,
market.
So that it's not like a money market 3-year or 5-year.
No.
And that, I'm not opposed to that either.
No,
I just
well,
wanna
I
make
don't-
sure,
I-
you know
I
what I'm
think-
saying? I wanna see
Yeah.
the terms that
I
I'm voting
don't-
on.
Yeah, I don't know that we could lock it into a 3 or 5 year.
Yeah,
kind of
and
deal.
I don't know what you got,
No,
I
you
don't see
shouldn't.
anything, that's
Yeah.
all I'm saying is, I'd like to see the terms.
Money markets don't normally operate like drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, she
I-
sent me a
you
thing
get
here,
three
about it doesn't
withdrawals.
give the actual rates and everything on this, but.
Because they change daily.
Yeah,
I'll
just,
email
you
those
know,
out to everybody.
Hourly.
That would,
Yeah.
and then, because otherwise we're just kind of voting.
Sure. I
Thank you.
understand.
I'm the chairman of a board of a nonprofit, and we've moved all of our money, our account into a money market. So I think it's a good idea.
So a motion to move it to old business, and next month you'll have us the terms?
I can do that. Say it's up to the board, so.
So it's money.
If we hold off for a month, how much money are we losing out on?
Same amount we lost last month.
5 million at
Pretty
4%.
considerable. That's a lot of money.
Yes.
There's your repair job.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep the economy good.
Yeah.
All right, what's the motion that we're going ahead and do?
But if we're talking about money, we have much more than 5 million, if we wanna. There is more
We
than
run
5 million.
around- Well, right now, we've probably got around 7.
So if you wanna maximize our return.
Well, we need some for cash flow, don't we?
Yeah, I'd recommend that.
So we pay your PTO.
Pay all trash.
Pay everything.
That's
Okay,
what
any
I was
other
thinking, about
discussion?
more than the other.
I'd rather see it done right now as opposed to waiting a month, but
Any other discussion?
who knows what it'll be in a month.
But we can still do it, and if, when you send the terms, if the terms are haywire, then we can always say no next month, that we'd rather a different money mark. I mean, you can do that, money exchange.
Yeah.
So I'd make my money now. I'm
Good
all
with
about
that.
it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right, last item, discuss the, was that 50-foot scale replacement as an added outbound scale?
You know, we talked about that, I think, a couple of meetings ago, brought up the idea of, you know, part of what we're proposing in the new transfer station project is we were gonna add a new 50-foot scale in, replace the old scale that we've taken out of service, and use that kind of as a bypass scale on the outbound side in the event we've got a lot of traffic. Thinking about it, a lot of times on Saturdays or sometimes during the week as well, we get a lot of people going in and through and coming out, the line gets big. Went ahead and got some pricing on replacing that scale and also the electronics integration in with the scale interface, scale program. And we're talking, you know, around $145,000 if we decided to go ahead and do that ahead of waiting until we did all the other work on the transfer station project.
That's gonna blend into everything.
So, I went ahead and got that pricing just so we'd be aware of what the cost might be if we wanted to go ahead and do that now, as opposed to waiting, because it would be beneficial to help in kind of high traffic times.
I think it
And
would
that
be
would,
great.
that would be in the bond. Yeah,
It should be.
that's what I'm saying. So that-
It was
I
part of
think-
that plan.
Yeah, if we can, if it help us now and we can utilize it and it still be incorporated in that, I say, make
You
a
know,
motion, we do it.
The pricing we got on the scale itself, I noticed when I read through it, there's a, and I talked to the scale sales guy when he sent that to me. There's about a 4 or 5 month lead time possibly on the scale itself anyway, so.
I second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Just a comment, obviously there, that'll tie in with everything, all the proposed changes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That was part of it, yeah.
Check, yeah.
Any other discussion?
We have to do your vote.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
I think we're getting run out of room.
Wait a minute.
I know it. Does anybody have anything else?
Yeah, I do. Thank you. This will apparently be my last meeting on this board. The Committee on Committees decided, without discussing with me, that I would be replaced. If they'd asked, I would have said I wanted to stay on the board, but that wasn't my choice. I've enjoyed serving on this board for approximately 15 years. I'm as a representative of the Gallatin City Council, as well as the County Commission. A couple things I wanted to say. We've more than doubled the amount of the volume we've been getting since I came on this board as a county commissioner. I think the Resource Authority's done an amazing job of being able to handle that. We've gotten criticism from some people who are some elected officials, some citizens who don't know what's going on. To my knowledge, none of them have ever showed up and said, "Oh, I think you could do this better. Try this." So I'm sure that this board will select an outstanding person to be the director. We've had an outstanding person as the director. Larry did a great job as operations manager when I was on before. So I appreciate everything he's done to bring this resource authority to where it is today. And Ryan has done an outstanding job. We've got a good attorney and a good board, so I hope that this board will continue to prosper, live long and prosper. Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Is there a meeting here?